It's 23 minutes past the hour. Now, here's some headlines. The Biden administration has announced that customers of Silicon Valley Bank will have full access to their deposits. An extraordinary move by federal officials to backstop billions of dollars in uninsured money amid fears that the bank's collapse could lead to greater panic. Federal regulators said Sunday that they were taking the emergency measures to prevent contagion at other small and regional banks in the wake of Silicon Valley's sudden implosion. According to a source close to the administration, to be fair, you have to have a very high IQ to understand Rick and Morty. The humor is extremely subtle, and without a solid grasp of theoretical physics, most of the jokes will go over a typical viewer's head. There's also Rick's nihilistic outlook, which is deftly woven into his characterization. His personal philosophy draws heavily from Narodnaya Volya literature, for instance. California is expected to see another bout of rain and snow through Wednesday. The heavy downpour, which is forecast to intensify late Monday, is a result of an atmospheric river. It's the second to hit the West Coast in under a week's time. According to a source close to the issue, milky, warm and tasty, mommy milky, please be hasty, refreshing drink from mommies utters, I want mommies and no others. Give it now, give me milky, lazy sow. Until you do all scream and shout, I'm cry and whine and stomp about. Until my belly is full and happy, I refuse to take a nappy. Observers await plans for a Chinese leader, Xi Jinping, to visit Moscow and meet his Russian counterpart, Vladimir Putin. There are reports Xi could also hold talks with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. This week marks 9 years since the disputed Crimea referendum and the Russian annexation of the peninsula from Ukraine. Many countries condemned the vote and refused to recognize Crimea's accession to Russia. The United Nations brokered deal to export Ukrainian grain safely from Black Sea ports could expire this weekend, with Russia threatening to pull out over complaints the agreement has failed to free up Russian agriculture imports. According to a source close to the Chinese leader, what the fuck did you just fucking say about me, you little bitch? I'll have you know I graduated top of my class in the Navy SEALs, and I've been involved in numerous secret raids on Al-Qaeda, and I have over 300 confirmed kills. I am trained in guerrilla warfare, and I am the top sniper in the entire U.S. Armed Forces. You are nothing to me but just another target. I will wipe you the fuck out with precision, the likes of which has never been seen before on this earth. Mark my fucking words. Those were headlines. It's 23 minutes past the hour here on the program. "23 minutes past the hour here on the program. It's now time for Nothing Considered. Here with us is Alex Greenlee from the Johnson Center and Betty Brownlee from the Franklin Institute. Alex, Betty, hi, hello. It's great to have you both here. On March 10th, 2023, Silicon Valley Bank experienced a bank run on its assets and afterwards collapsed in an insolvency crisis. Bank runs are panics of investor confidence. Large numbers of people believe an institution will not be able to cover the large number of withdrawals that will occur, so in anticipation of that disaster, they withdraw their money from the bank, thus being part of the crisis they were trying to avoid. People following this story have been hearing about contagion, a term used to describe the fear that other banks, even perfectly healthy and solvent banks, might be teetering on the edge of oblivion, a fear that leads to further bank runs and disaster. To combat and allay these fears, the federal government created the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation to ensure that each bank investor and account holder will, in a case of real insolvency, be able to access a pool of funds up to $250,000 per account. Individuals need cash on hand, and corporations use large banks to make payroll. But banks make money loaning and investing themselves. Alex, Betty, insolvency is a real problem, but so is investor panic. Which is worse? And in the face of new panics, people are comparing to the near-apocalyptic 2008 financial crisis. What should be done to alleviate the situation? As always, I start with Alex. Thank you. It's simple. Calm the hell down. In unsure moments, banks either fail or don't. Silicon Valley Bank, as well as two other banks heavily invested in cryptocurrency, of all things, collapsed. In finding out the contagion hits banks invested in cryptocurrency, you must ask if it's really contagion or just crypto investors being crypto investors. I could care less about others who put their money in these banks. In a post-2008 bailout world, the consumer shouldn't just look at any bank. You should choose banks with care. If you don't come to me complaining that you were too slow to take all of your money out like a total fucking loser who deserves to have all their cash burn in a giant bonfire of abhorrent investment deals a kindergartner could tell you would make the bank burst. Imbeciles. Thank you. And Betty? Banks hold money. That is their service. It's in the name. Bank. It's not just the images of vault doors and guards, it's what the word means. A place that serves as a giant pile of money. If you are a bank and what you do with that money causes you to lose enough of other people's cash that you run completely out of money, then your bank isn't just going to fail. It has failed. Failed to be a bank, a place that holds money. I'm not going to tell people to go out and take their money out of the local bank just to test. Banks need their giant, unwieldy, comically large, disgusting pile of ill-gotten, filthy lucre to make the money. Bank runs don't test for insolvency any more than pushing someone off a cliff tests for gravity. I am going to say that in a post-2008 bailout world, the investors who have the real money shouldn't just come first. They should be the only factors in any equation. That's the whole reason for the FDIC. People lose money in a bank collapse. People get the money back. Selfish libertarian bro total pricks who lie about the idea that would be some kind of bailout know better than that, and I wish it made sense for their tongues to get cut out, but they never talk to anyone who isn't online. Thank you, Alex and Betty. Interesting to say to the least. That was nothing considered. It's 23 minutes past the hour on the program. It's 23 minutes past the hour on the program. Charles Dixon is here with a review of the recent film See You Next Tuesday. Charles? See You Next Tuesday would be a perfect movie if it wasn't for the fact that it's utterly terrible in absolutely every regard. Released in 2003, See You Next Tuesday, directed by Michael Bay and starring blah and blah, is a sign that the entire industry needs to be regulated and brought to heel. Not for content that is immoral, but just for being so bad to be allowed to continue in a society that cares in any form about art. See You Next Tuesday is a sign that civilization itself might be on the brink of collapse and will undoubtedly end if this film isn't removed from the historical record. This is a real threat that we must take to heart, and if we don't, we actively create that which will lead to the oblivion of the human race. That was Charles Dixon with their review of See You Next Tuesday. It's 23 minutes past the hour. 23 Minutes Past the Hour is a production of me, Kenny Dixon. Adam Greenlee was Kenny Dixon, Betty Brownlee was Kenny Dixon, and the movie review was done by Kenny Dixon. This is a pilot episode on a real episode. None of the opinions of those speaking would have been pre-scripted. 23 Minutes Past the Hour is not made possible by any grant from the MacArthur Foundation, but can be supported by our patrons on patreon.com. Thank you, and you have a wonderful day.